All right, I'm just gonna make another quick video here with November 2017 pickups. This is the more just rock and roll, my rock records, you know, mostly stuff from the 70s, some from the 60s. Yeah, just stuff like that. But except for the first record here, the first record I want to show is Bill Hicks. This is a Record Store Day release. This is Revelations Live in London. Bill Hicks is a genius comic from the 90s. When Bush was a president, he really went after those guys. You know, he really went after right-wing politics. He was kind of, I don't know if he really was a left-wing guy either, but he really liked just tearing down politicians in general and just stupid people in general and stupid ideas. But he was a really, really super intelligent guy and died way too fucking young, man. I think he was like 32 years old or something like that when he passed away of pancreatic cancer. Anyway, Bill Hicks is a genius comic. I love this record. I've always loved Bill Hicks from back in the day before he passed away. I had his stuff on CD, you know, when they released a bunch of stuff back in the 2000s, I think, and it was really great to have all that stuff. I might still have the CDs, actually. But it was cool to see this on vinyl come out on a Record Store Day release, and it was one of my top picks that I wanted, so I picked that up. Put that in hard rock because, you know, yeah, he's a rebel guy. He was great. Album I picked up was Led Zeppelin, House of the Holy. This copy is not in great shape, but it's funny because almost none of my Zeppelin records, except for Physical Graffiti, which I bought brand new, are, I mean, they're just not in great shape. Like, the covers and stuff are pretty good, and the albums look good, but they were just played hard, a lot of this album. So this is a good record, but I picked it up in November. It's a good one, Sly and the Family Stone. This is, I think this is like a greatest hits, maybe. Or, no, it's the album called Stand. Yeah, this is pretty good. Everyday People is on here. That's I think the hit. Pretty good album. Next album I picked up, this one I picked up in, no, I was gonna pick it up in Indiana, but I couldn't find it, or I couldn't find it for a decent price. But then I finally found a copy online, like cheap, you know, like 25, 30 bucks I think I paid. And this is a really nice copy. Yeah, this is the Slider. Yeah, T-Rex the Slider. Freaking great album. This is a 5 out of 5, 100%. Absolutely nothing wrong with T-Rex. Love, love, love the glam stuff. Bolin was great. Another guy passed. He really, I don't know, he was in his 30s too, I think, maybe late 30s though, when he passed. I can't, like I said, I didn't do any research on any of this stuff this time. I'm just kind of going to show the records. But yeah, he passed away in a car accident, I think. It sucked. But great album. All the T-Rex stuff is good, especially, you know, this album and Warrior. That's a really good album too. Both those two albums are must-haves for a record collection. You know, anybody who has a record collection should have both those albums. This album and the other one. They should also have this album, Deep Purple in Rock. This is a 5 out of 5 as well. Anybody who's collecting hard rock or heavy metal should absolutely have this album. This album is fantastic. Very heavy sound. It's really interesting how, you know, when like Black Sabbath didn't really have the Hammond keyboard, but Deep Purple did. But I would put both Deep Purple and Black Sabbath, you know, in heavy metal, you know, or at least proto early heavy metal. Even though, you know, Sabbath didn't have the keyboards, these guys did. Uriah Heep had the keyboards. That Hammond is, and, you know, some of Rainbow, you know, he used a little bit of it too. It just reminds me of early 70s heavy metal, you know, hard rock and heavy metal. I mean, you know, this is early stuff, so heavy metal really wasn't invented yet, but everybody who started making real heavy metal albums, you know, in the late 70s and early 80s, of course, were just, all this stuff influenced the hell out of them. So, you know, even though this isn't the heaviest of heavy metal that you can get, it's definitely heavy metal still. This album is Suzi Quatro. This is a really good record. I like Suzi. Your Mama Won't Like Me. She does a lot of cover tunes, like on most of her albums, but I think that's fine. Great album. Love Suzi Quatro. This is a good album. Sensational Alex Harvey Band. This is a hard rock band that was back in the 70s, early 70s. Fantastic stuff. It's kind of like art rock too, you know. It's just interesting. Yeah, Harvey was a crazy guy. Good album. Patti Smith, Easter. Picked this up too in November. Really good album. I also picked up Deep Purple Burn. This one has two singers, Coverdale and Glenn Hughes, both sing songs on this album. So it was kind of, I don't know how often bands, there's not too many bands where there was two main lead singers. It says here Glenn Hughes played bass as well. It's been a while since I listened to it, but it's a good album. Yeah, it is definitely very bluesy, you know, as far as Deep Purple. So this is, but yeah, it's just really great. And there's the lyric sheet, which is cool. Yeah, really cool album. Burn is really treated as the one that, I think even Whitesnake, when Coverdale went over to Whitesnake, he would always play Mistreated live. Really good album. The best member of the Eagles is Joe Walsh. Love Joe Walsh. His albums are, you know, his solo stuff is really just okay, but there's always like 2 or 3 good songs on here that are just fantastic, even if the rest is not that good. But yeah, I'll pick up Joe Walsh stuff. The smoker you drink, the player you get. That's Joe Walsh. He's a funny guy. I watch that Eagles documentary. If you haven't seen it, it's like a 3-hour long documentary. It takes forever to get through, 3.5 hours, but it's kind of worth it. It's really good. I'm gonna show these two together. It's Rare Bird. It's kind of like a prog rock band from the 70s. This is an okay record. This is the other Rare Bird record, As Your Mind Flies By. This one's actually better. I would pick this one up before I pick the other one up. It's kind of moody, you know, 70s rock, kind of mellow. But yeah, it's kind of like a little bit psychedelic, but more progressive. Pretty good stuff. This album is great. Cars, Candy O. Picked this up in November as well. Really good album. You can pick up Cars records for like $5. And I got this in the dollar bin. And it's really, really good. The copy, once I cleaned it up, it was a clean copy. It just probably looked bad, and they just, you know, cover was well loved. And I don't know if there's an insert or not, but mine didn't have it for the dollar record. So there might have been a printed insert with lyrics or something, and I don't have that. But for $1, yeah, and it sounds great. After I got this record, I started listening. You know, I had like the greatest hits of the Cars and stuff, so I knew all the songs that I liked, but I really appreciated the deep tracks on here more, you know, when I listened to this album after I cleaned it up and played it. And yeah, I think the Cars are one of the greatest bands of all time. Honestly, they're just really, really good. For me, I can play any Cars record all the way through and not be bored at all. Unlike Emerson, Lake and Palmer, where I can get bored listening to ELP. Yeah, I've only listened to this album a couple times. I would need to spend a lot of time with it in order to probably appreciate it. I don't have very many Aerosmith records. I think I only have 2. No, I have 3. I have this one, which I got in the dollar bin, Rocks. And this one has, songs are on here. Back in the Saddle is on here. Last Child is on here. Sick as a Dog is on here. Nobody's Fault is on here. Which I believe Testament redid that song. Yeah. Rocks, got it for $1. This is a fantastic album. Queen 2, great record. Pretty heavy for, you know, hard rock album in the 70s. Yeah, great album. Pick this up. Queen. Another album that's okay if you like Jimi Hendrix, Mahogany Rush. This is the Canadian Jimi Hendrix. Frank Marino. The guy's an amazing guitar player. And these albums are okay. I kind of went through a phase where I really wanted to get a bunch of Frank Marino stuff, and then I only listened to it a few times, each of my Frank Marino records, and I just like, I couldn't get into them super, you know, really well. They were just good. This is the one with the hit. This is the ELP record I have with the hit. This is a good album. It's all right. I can listen to it. Like I said, I'm just going through my pickups. Lucky Man was the hit on here. Yeah. Some of these albums I just need to spend some time with, but there's just a lot. I have over 2,000 records, so I don't have a lot of time to spend on these fucking records. But this is a good record. It's okay. This was a dollar bin pickup. Yes, Owner of a Lonely Heart. This one's kind of beat up. I could probably do with a replacement copy for this. You know, if I find a cheap one for $5, I might pick it up. It's a pretty good record. 80s, yes. I prefer 70s, yes. I definitely, I can listen, now those albums I can listen to, Roundabout, you know, all that stuff, you know, those are great songs. You know, I can get into those albums. This album is good. I just don't, the 80s production, just, I prefer that 70s sound production more than the 80s production, at least with my rock and hard rock or progressive rock stuff. If you're talking about pop music, definitely, you know, the Madonnas of the world, you know, all that stuff, you know, anything from the 80s for pop music. I love that production sound, but this has that kind of sound, but it's trying to be a progressive rock album, and it's just, I don't know, it doesn't work as much. Last record here, Roy Orbison, Mystery Girl. This is good because this album came out and Jeff Lynne is just fantastic. He's a genius, and yeah, helped Roy kind of start making music again, you know, got him in this, got him in Traveling Wilburys, and, you know, this album has You Got It on it, which is a really good song. Yeah, this is a fun listen. I've listened to this a couple times, and Roy Orbison is great, and with Jeff Lynne helping him out, the songs just came out really, really good. Yeah, all right, that's the end of my rock pickups for November 2017.